Have you ever wondered where we get the major scale from? You know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Where does it come from? What if I told you that it occurs naturally based on very simple mathematical relationships between the notes? If you don't remember what the major scale is, let me just play it for you. Starting on C, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Basically what it is it's all the natural notes. No sharps, no flats, just the notes that we call by their letter name. Why these notes? Why the spaces between the notes? It didn't happen by accident. This is based off of natural relations between the pitches. Something very interesting about the first and the fifth note, the C to the G, is that mathematically those are a 3-to-2 ratio apart. Another way to say that is that if you take a guitar string, right, you just pick an open guitar string, and then you put your finger down 1/3 of the way down, you're cutting off 1/3 of the string, you have 2/3 of the string left to ring, and you pick that, you get that same distance. But what about the other notes? Let's just do a bunch of fifths stacked on top of each other, starting from C and going up in fifths. I'm going to go down to the bass clef so we get some extra range. All right. So what do we have here? We have C to G. We talked about that one already. Then to D. That's another one of our naturally named notes. And then to A. There's another one. To E. And then to B. There's 6 out of the 7 naturally named notes. No sharps, no flats. If you were to take a string and cut it by thirds this many times, you'd get the exact same pitches. Now, this is 6 out of 7. Where's the 7th one? I'm going to do this one more time, except I'm going to go down a fifth from C first and then go back up. That will give us the 7th note, which is F in the key of C. Check this out. There's that F. There you go. Just like that, if you go in fifths starting at F, you get the 7 natural notes of the major scale. If you were to keep going, where we leave off at B, I'm going to bring the B way down so we can keep building up fifths so you can see what happens. You got B, F sharp, D flat or C sharp, A flat or G sharp, E flat, E flat, F. We landed back on F, which is where we started. Right? Now what are these pitches? How many more pitches do we have here? Going from B, which we already had, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So we got 7 from our original going up by fifths to get the major scale. And when you keep going, you get 5 more. Now, if you know anything about the keys on a piano, there are 12 unique notes on a piano. 7 plus 5 equals 12. You play them all in a row, you get the 12 notes of what we call the chromatic scale. These are all the notes. These are the notes that we use. And it's by stacking what we call fifths, which is really just 2/3 of a note. You start with some note like F, cut it by 2/3 a bunch of times, and you get all the notes. If you do this very scientifically and very accurately, it's not super exactly 2/3, but it's extremely close. It's close enough to where it's basically a rounding error, right? To our ears, it sounds great. It's what we've been used to for hundreds and hundreds of years, especially in Western music. And I think it's pretty awesome that there's such a deep relationship between naturally occurring mathematical phenomenon and the musical scales that we use every day as musicians. We tend to think of music as a very creative art, a very much inspired thing, that something like math would be very much a more heady thing, a much more rigid thing. But actually, the artfulness of what you might do with music is sitting on a foundation of very straightforward, mathematically sound principles, which I think is really neat. Especially as a composer, you kind of use your right brain and you use your left brain, right? You have a creative flair, and then you take that bit of material and you dissect it and you say, what's going on here? What can I do with this? How can I turn this into a piece that makes sense? So I think it's a beautiful relationship between the order of the universe and the flashes of creativity that the human mind has been given to create. So anyway, that's where our notes come from.